everyone you hate is not just an annoying person that you hate. They're Gary Oak. They're the person that you are destined to beat at the end of the game. I turned the whole thing into a real-life anime. I'll tell you what though, if you are the type of person who isn't finding that people, like, get you at school, you will have your time. The world is much smaller when you're at school. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny environment which does not represent the real world. You know, you learn a lot of the stuff that you're going to need in the real world. University gets a little bit wider, but it's not until you finish university that you realize that this world is way bigger. People that get you and understand you and want to meet you, want to like hang out with you exactly the way you are, with no changes whatsoever, they're everywhere. This world is huge. Is this reassuring because high school is messy? Dude, when I was at high school, I got punched in the face. The takeaway from this experience is that I thought there was something intensely wrong with me at school. Maybe there is something intensely wrong with me, but is it a problem? Like, there might be something very, very, very different about you. But is it a problem? And will it always be a problem? And being different may suck at different times in your life. Like, being different, for example, if you're a foreigner in Japan, that's being different. That sucks, but you don't spend every night going, oh, I wish I was just born Japanese. You just deal with it. You go outside and you just be Japanese. You speak Japanese, you interact with Japanese people, you do your job in Japan. You just have to deal with it. And it's the same thing with school. Unfortunately, not most children, most high school students don't have the control to just change their school. That's something that really only your parents can do when you're a kid. It is nothing like the real world. So you just have to make do with what you've got. I went from hating high school. I hated every second of it. I went to a music school on Saturdays. Like, I woke up at 6 in the morning on a Saturday to spend another 9 hours at school. And that includes like an hour and a half on the train, so it took like 3 hours. And I did it, not just because I liked music, but because I hated high school. I hated every minute of it. Until I realized what I enjoyed about it. It doesn't have to be the learning part, it doesn't have to be the friends part. For me, it was going to lunch. At our school, we were allowed to go down to the high street to buy food anywhere we wanted, which meant you could choose anyone you want to go with. But I was like going by myself, and then eventually I think I started meeting other people outside of the school, and I realized, whoa, people act really differently just at lunchtime. Just because they're not surrounded by the people who are judging them based on who they hang out with. And then I had a little crew of people that I would go to lunch with, and actually that crew changed over time. The reason it's important is not that I went to school for lunch. The reason was, for a short time, I hated school, and then I loved lunch, and then I started to love school. Going through hating high school was really important because then I used that experience. Again, they say you are who you are despite what happened to you, not because of what happened to you, right? But I started loving school because of all these enemies that you have, right? Enemies or challenges that you go through. And a lot of adults will try to tell you this when you're young, like, these are the best days of your life. You're like, these are not the best days of my life. And then it turns out they kind of are, because they're like the years that are making you. And I wasn't watching a huge amount of anime at the time, but when I got into music school, I turned the whole thing into a real-life anime. Because in normal school, when people start to beat you, like when people get like better results than you, or they got more friends than you, people got better grades than you, it's like, well, this person's playing an oboe and this person's playing a violin. There was a lot of competition like that. And even though you worked your butt off for 8 months practicing one piece of music, only to come like second fiddle to someone who you genuinely believe doesn't deserve to be better than you. That is exactly what shonen anime is all about. That's essentially all I'm trying to say. If you turn your life into a shonen anime, it becomes the most enjoyable thing on Earth. Suddenly all of your enemies are Gary. Everyone you hate is not just an annoying person that you hate, they're Gary Oak. They're the person that you are destined to beat at the end of the game. And by the end of the game, you realize it doesn't even matter if you beat him. You beat Gary and you're like, actually Gary's not the point. I beat Gary, but that was just like a trajectory for me. The real goal was to find Zapdos, right? What is your legendary bird? Just remember, shonen anime. That's all you need. Every enemy is a person that is going to be your training partner. Everyone in this school has to be better than you. Otherwise, you're not going to be better than school number 2. It really is just shonen anime, right? Because when you're at school, like your main goal is to be better than the other people at the school. But when you leave the school, it turns out that everyone you need to beat is every musician on Earth. Or at least every musician in New York City. Or every musician in London. And at that point, you'll wish that you had gone to a school where people had been more challenging. Like, so people would, like, email me and say, like, oh, I'm trying to get into your school. Like, can you tell me how to get in? Like, yeah, man. Let's go for coffee. I'll tell you all about the interview. I'll tell you all about the test. I'll tell you all about everything you need to know about how to get past the exams to get into this school. And they're like, why are you doing this? I'm like, the better the applicants, the better the people who graduate from the school will actually be. But music school, university, they're all the same. They're just academies. If you don't go to an academy, just change the name in your mind. Let's say you go to the Chicago State University. I don't know if that even is a university, I've just made that up. Just call it Chicago State Academy, right? And you will enjoy every single day at Chicago State University. Because it's not the university, it's the Chicago State Academy. We're all here to be the best, so that whoever graduates from this school will be better than every other school in the country.